What's up YouTube, LastOfGaia here, and today I want to come at you with a discussion video about low versus high tier decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I guess the same thing for Magic, because why not? Let's start with Yu-Gi-Oh! As all of us have come to know, love, and respect, there are tiers in Yu-Gi-Oh! You have the tier 0 decks, Quillports, and that's about it. Then you have the tier 1 decks, Shadalls, Burning Abyss, Stellanites, that kind of stuff. And then you go to tier 2. Like Fire Fist and Hat and all that other stuff. And then you go to like tier 3, which is like Battery Man, Mermail, I guess Boojin-ish, you know, things like that. And then you have your rogue decks, and then you have your shit decks, and that's pretty much how it works. Now, it's been that way for, I don't know, the last decade and a half. Like Go Control, and what else not. Tiers in Yu-Gi-Oh! Have been a thing for, who knows, as long as things have been around, I guess. But anyway, that's not really what I'm trying to get at. What I'm trying to get at is, does it need to work that way? Is there a way to change how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is formatted? Now, to some of you, that's like, what kind of question is that? But here's what I'm trying to say. Tiers in Yu-Gi-Oh! Don't need to exist. But they do. They do because we format it that way. We make the decks good. Konami doesn't. We do. They just create the cards. They create an archetype. We look at them. We read them, we're like, holy shit, this card's good, let's play it. And then we put the pieces together from every other card in that archetype. And boom! Deck. What makes a tier? And that's a good question. One that I probably don't have an answer for right now. But I can throw in a hypothesis. My hypothesis is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is tiered because we make it that way. What's my evidence? Well, let's look at YCSs and regionals. The decks that always top are the tier 1 decks. The ones that we made tier 1 because of how many people play the deck and how many people do well with the deck. Now, how do people do well with the deck? Again, that's a question I simply cannot answer. I'm not a tier 1 deck player. I play rogue decks. I play fucking Amazonas and Cloudians for all the shit in the world. And see, that's where we go, is that tiers don't need to exist. Just, you have your good decks, your mediocre decks, and your bad decks. That's all it comes down to. That's why there are tiers here. Your good decks are tier 1, your mediocre decks are in the tier 2 to tier 5, and then you have your shit decks which aren't even on the tier list. And that's why we need to change that. Tiers don't need to exist. They just don't. Every deck should have the same capability of being a good deck. Like, look at Crystal Beast and Ghost Tricks, for example. Nobody plays them, but yet they have the ability to be competitive. But they're not on the tier because of consistency, which is another video that I'll do another day. But now that that's out of the way, let's go to Magic for a minute. Now, as we know, Magic doesn't necessarily have tiers, but after, like, the SCG Opens and the Pro Tours, and the Grand Prix and shit like that, you get your tier, you get your good decks. Like, for example, right now, Obzan and Jeskai are the good decks. And I play rogue decks. I'm playing the blue-black control right now. I did make a blue-black control deck before, but that one is gone. It's been destroyed. I made a brand new control deck. I'll probably put a deck profile up it either later today or tomorrow, depending on what I want to do. But just the same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, there are no tiers. You have your good decks, that's about it. You have your archetypes, Like, for example, this block, Theros Cons, is about wedges. Last block, Return to Ravnica Theros, was devotion. Now, we have the ability to change that. However, I don't think with Magic it needs to be changed. I think mainly because the power creep in Magic isn't really as high of a deal as it is in Yu-Gi-Oh! With Yu-Gi-Oh! Power creep is so fucking out of whack. I mean, you're going da-da-da-da, whatever, blah, 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 and then BAM! Quillports is a great example, which I will use right now. Quillports have become a power creep deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Mainly because it's just, no deck is going to be able to beat it. I mean, sure, there are going to be decks that beat it, but when it comes out, in who knows when, Secrets of Evolution, I believe, all of a sudden, it's going to be like, oh, holy shit. I am so sorry. But anyway, when they come out, it's going to be like, holy shit, this is tier 0 to the max. And my point is, Quillports are good because we've made them good. Konami does not go into the mindset, oh, let's make this deck to where you play it, you don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! At this point. They are not the ones that do that. They're doing this to make money. The whole tier thing is for them to make money. Like, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Economy, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Tiers, everything in Yu-Gi-Oh! We have the ability to change. We just choose not to because it's been the normal for a decade and a half. And I don't see why we don't change it. I think it needs to be changed. But nobody wants to do it. Just think about that. It's the same thing with everything else in the world. There's a normal, and everyone decides to follow the normal. But be that one person who stands up and say, you know what, I'm going to change the shit for the better. I'm LastOfGaia. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Be a better player.